Good Thursday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about the state of the times of cars and trucks and motorcycles and animals and landscaping. Hey, look over here. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning to my channel. Good to see you, and really appreciate the support out there, and hope you enjoy my content and share the information with others. And hey, what's going on? If you're following my channel, I ripped out a bunch of the landscaping. Gonna try to get the house looking decent again, because house is kind of gone without so much attention. And if you're a realtor, I think the word they say, you need to stage your home. If you're gonna get your house for sale, you ever heard that kind of language? Get your home staged for the big preview if you're going to sell it. Yeah. Look at all the metal. See all the metal around here? I have a lot of metal. I mean, look at how many pounds of metal do I have on my property? Wow. Yeah, wow. How many thousands of pounds? I mean, that truck there's 6,000, Jeep's 5, 11. There's another 5, 16,000. Another 10 over there, 20,000. Bronco, 25. Mustang, we'll put it like, I guess, what would that be? 29,000. F450, 35, like 35. The Lightning 6, it's at 41. The truck, hey, you stay here. Got the F1, yeah, 45. There's like 50. Then the cars inside. I'd say, yeah, 70,000. I'd say then the trailers, and then my lawnmowers. I mean, could I? Oh yeah, the Mach-E back there. I could maybe have 100,000 pounds of metal on my property. Wow. Wow. I've never. Oh, I forgot about the other Ford truck. Oh yeah, I've got at least 100,000 pounds of metal. At least on my property. Fuel tanks over there. Got, attachments for the tractors and stuff in my shed and lawnmowers. Wow. I've never thought about that. And, today's discussion, very challenging for me as an individual that kind of runs on a shoestring YouTube channel. Being that I got to come up with content at the last second. And I did this morning. And it's kind of, are we going to talk about the staged environment we live in? Or are we going to talk about the metals among us? What about the motorcycles? Yeah. I mean, wow. Yeah, so for me, I could have 125,000 pounds of metal around here. Is that something? What if I got paid by the pound? What if every pound of metal was $5? Wouldn't that be pretty cool? Because it wouldn't equate to the value of all these vehicles and things I own. That'd be immediately like $625,000. Well, wouldn't pay off what I paid for all this stuff, right? Come on, Bubs. Got my Crocs on. It's so warm out. No socks. And got the puppies here. Better get the, it's warm now. It's warmed up. So, fan time. There's a bird living in my office. I have the windows, open the windows up and everything. And sometimes a bird gets in here. Yeah, it does happen. Oh my goodness. Let's get the going here. Get my phone set up. Get the routine going. Worked late last night on the landscaping project. And it's just so incredible how 2020, I built a deck on the back of my house. I did tons of landscaping, and I just really got my property looking really good. And got to get my John Deere coffee. John Deere hat, right? Indian shirt. I got the spring fever in me. And so got the property looking so good. And then, because I was, you couldn't go anywhere, so you couldn't travel. So, but then in 2021, the doors opened back up, and I started traveling a lot. And that just changed everything in my schedule. And so really 2021 and 2022, I spent so much time in Florida, the most ever in my lifetime. And even in Tennessee. And so the property, I just basically let the property kind of go. I mean, it really did. Because it's all about time. It's all about family. As you get older in life, you really come to understand that we're not here forever. And any opportunity you have to go spend time with family, you better take advantage of it. Because just too many stories out there of people who are like, wow, had I only spent more time with the ones I love. And look at that guy, what's it, Bob Lee in San Francisco, an incredibly smart guy that got stabbed to death in San Francisco at 2:30 in the morning. I don't know. In any cities, I think if you're foolish to walk around cities, especially the cities that are known for just really the lawless cities more than ever. I mean, would anybody here feel confident of getting on a subway at 2:30 in the morning in any major city anymore? Would you feel confident walking down the street in any city anymore at 2:30 in the morning? Would you just, don't get me wrong, nothing justifies what happened. Could happen in broad daylight. It does as well, but good luck. But this guy apparently was one of the original Google guys, and just a really incredibly code writer, I'm sure. Just knew all the stuff, and sadly he's no longer here because some other person that didn't have any value to life killed him. And that's what's so sad. We see this all the time. The person that just has no respect for others because they don't have respect for themselves. That's what it's all about, is those around us that are the people that commit the crimes and do the harm to others. They don't respect themselves. So why would they respect you? There's the number one problem. Because if somebody respects themselves, they're going to be an honorable person. They're going to want to try to help others. They're going to try to be a good person. The people that have all these mental problems, and, that's the talk today more than ever. It's all mental, okay, right? It's all drug related. I tell my daughter all the time, it's like, when somebody does drugs, they're not going to be cleaning those drugs out of their blood system if they smoke dope all night long. If you're party all night long and don't get in bed till 2, 3 in the morning, you think you have to go to work the following morning, get in bed at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that you're all cleaned out of all those drugs? Nope. No, not at all. So you're still dealing with a person that comes to your office or work or whoever it is, your relationship. You're still dealing with a person that's not mentally stable. So you hear this constant mental health challenges. Yeah, it's called drug use beyond believable. Yes. Beyond believable. And here now, and today's Reparations Mayor Day. Apparently mayors across the country are recognizing Reparations Day for the ongoing discussions of the slavery descendants that get, reimbursed for the hardships of their life here in this country. Yeah, so that's a big thing. And the reason I bring that up is because in Illinois, a town in Illinois is going to offer $25,000 mortgage assistance to buy a house, which that's nice. I think that's a very nice gesture of people wanting to help other people. That's great. I really do. I think that's very nice of a community. And I think what's really even more intriguing about all this, the reason I'm bringing it up, is because the tax money would come from the pot sales. Yeah. So if more people smoke pot, then those monies that will be taxed will go towards helping those get their house. Right. Wow. So just more potheads among us, right? You're doing good for society because you're helping others buy a house, right? Come on. So, yeah, I know I'm way off topic, but whatever. Come on. I'm just trying to make a channel have fun and entertainment and ideas and views. So, yeah, one part of me said this morning, let's call it the staged day. Because more than ever, do you feel like everything's being staged more than ever? And one thing that popped my head here the other day is there's a guy, the RV man guy, and he does a YouTube channel, and I like to kind of listen to his views on the RV industry, but he went way off topic the other day. It's just kind of like this morning. I'm talking, but here's the thing. I just share my fun factor and my ideas and information I think that should intrigue others. And maybe you already know all this stuff, but this guy, Wingman, I think he's called Wingman. So he's going on about how he went to a Popeyes and the food was just terrible. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because he wanted to complain to the franchisee. Well, he couldn't figure out who the franchisee was, apparently. So he called the corporate office. So he supposedly recorded the corporate office response. And the corporate office response, if you heard this response, it had to be staged. It had to be staged to get entertainment on his channel, because this corporate guy calls back and says, oh, this is the typical white, the white guy attitude, Mr., special. I mean, in so many words, that's what the guy said in responding to this gentleman calling the corporate office. The corporate office called and left a message. I guess what it was, he left a message on his phone. And so he shared on his YouTube channel that this guy is basically mocking this guy for being a white supremacist in so many ways, because things just ain't good enough for him, and just shut up. Is basically the guy was saying, and the guy was saying in the voicemail that you need to reach out to the franchisee. The corporate doesn't control your personal problem. You got to talk to the franchisee. But I'm thinking this had to be staged, because if you heard this voicemail and the way it came across from a corporate person out of Popeye's corporate headquarters, they're going to come across and you're going to leave a voicemail message about, kind of being demeaning to others. So what I mean, it's like, man, do you really think that that your subscribers are buying? I mean, if you're buying into this, you just got staged. And so there's my whole point this morning. Is more than ever in our lifetime, we're being staged in the automotive industry. Well, what does that mean? Right, I'm with you. What the hell does that mean? Well, in so many ways, if you saw the Tim Knuskis release the Dodge Charger next electric vehicle, if that wasn't staged with the fake, exhaust on it, the growling noise through the speaker system in the car or whatever. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, that was just. And then I made comments in the old forum I used to be in. If anybody there in the forums watch my channel, hey, how y'all doing? I doubt they are. But if they are, hey, miss you guys. Yeah, if you ever want to invite me back, just let me know. But yeah, so so I mentioned in that staged, Charger Daytona, whatever, next electric badass muscle car, right? Yeah, so that thing, it looked like a funeral, because when the car was being staged and going through the whole audience, it was like a hearse, because the whole audience was completely quiet. And so you could hear the little growling noise and the fake noise out of that Dodge Charger and the Daytona, whatever they call it. I'm not even following that car. So if I'm not that accurate on it, it's just I'm not even following it. Why would I follow that? I'm just not. It's just like a disgrace. So that car to me, yeah, it was staged like it was a funeral. And it was so, to me, a true reflection of what is going on in the car automotive world. It's like that vehicle represented the death of the Ice Age. Yes, that vehicle going through that crowd, and it was all silent as you're just moving along, and it's just going by everybody. And I'm like, that is the funeral for the Ice Age vehicle. Right there it is. That's the hearse. They should have had the Dodge Demon behind it, being towed behind it with flowers on it and a flag, and we should have had the guys there with the guns and shot the guns in the air and everything else. I mean, that would have been the most appropriate thing that Tim Knuskis could have ever done for the reveal of an electric vehicle. Hey, come on. I can get creative. I'm sure anybody else here get creative too. With that, that's what you do in real life. If you're going to hold one of these Dodge Chargers down the road, there you go. There's a skit from my YouTube channel, right? I pull out my car and I have it going down. Get all the ICE people, lined up along the street. The electric cars pulling the last demon through the crowd of the ICE, and we all are saluting it. as we fire up our engines and make a lot of noise, right? Yeah, the ice day, right? Need an ice day. So the staged part, I mean, are we being staged, more than ever in our lifetime? And once again, I said, what does this all mean? Well, you just think to yourself, we're constantly being fed the information that the electric vehicle is the answer for the net zero carbon footprint. That's the goal. Whole manufacturing, the whole world is now focused on, net zero carbon footprint for the whole mankind. And Elon Musk, here's what's really interesting here is Elon Musk has the master plan. So Tesla apparently has a 3-part series on the master plan, which I didn't even know about this till this morning. I just happened to read this article this morning in Bloomberg about how the master plan, part 3. So apparently Tesla is claiming that if Elon Musk, I guess basically in so many words, is a person pushing the narrative, but it is really interesting. And I thought to myself this morning, Elon Musk should have been a band player in heavy metal. And I never really thought about this much, but I grew up in the AC/DC, Metallica, Van Halen, Guns N' Roses. You can go through the list of the heavy metal. My era of 80s, once I kind of got into my teenage years and my early 20s, the 80s was all about the heavy metal era. And if anybody's, into the heavy metal stuff, they know Led Zeppelin, that was there, but I didn't look at them as much. But, like Metallica and Slayer, and I mean, I can't even, there's so many of them, a good 100+ groups. Anybody here that's in my age group, I'm sure you all remember those really kick-ass AC/DC, Hell's Bells. I mean, if you just look back, and David Lee Roth, I mean, just wow. Eddie Van Halen, hard to believe Eddie Van Halen's freaking dead. And then, just all these incredible, talented people that I don't think Aerosmith was categorized. That was like the 70s, even though they had some heavy stuff. I don't know. But anyways, the whole point is the heavy metal group. Well, that's if you stop and think about Elon Musk, he's the metal man. We all kind of have been fixated on the wealth, the Rockefellers, and the big oil, big Texas family, the Saudi Arabia families, the Middle East, the oil, riches, Kuwait, and the list goes on and on. And at this morning, I thought to myself, wow, it's pretty intriguing to stop and think that Elon Musk, he is not the oil man, he's the metal man. Yes, so if you read this article, it's a really good article that explains on how the goal to get away from fossil fuels and what it's going to take to get to that capability is, Elon Musk says it's a $10 trillion dollar expense over the next 20 years to convert to net zero emissions. And he's sincere in that. He's like, it's a 10 trillion investment worldwide, but he says at the same time it would be like $14 trillion or more. Well, not even that. He didn't say that. So what he said is 10 trillion investment, but he says the world economy is 100 trillion annual economy a year. So over 20 years, it's like 0.5, it's not even 1% of the world economy to change over to the green agenda, cleaner net zero environment. And what he talks about is that the amount of money spent for fossil fuels in comparison to net zero energy is less. It's going to be $10 trillion instead of like $14 trillion to continue the fossil fuel way. Then he talks about for Mother Earth to extract all these metals of nickel and iron, magnesium, and there's others I just haven't said, but the metals of Mother Earth that are being extracted to create these batteries, And all the metals that are in our cars and all this, everything around us is metals, everything. And so Elon is saying that by the next 20 years, if the world was really to accomplish the net zero green agenda, then he's saying it would be like 3.3 gigatons of Mother Earth being dug up to get our energies to keep mankind energy resilient with the net zero emission. But he's saying if we continue the fossil fuel way, it'll take like 15 gigaton of extraction of Mother Nature to continue to produce fossil fuels. That's his claim, which that's pretty radical. So his position is that if we can accomplish the net zero green agenda through solar, wind, and batteries, backup batteries, his claim is that the differences of Mother Nature harm, it's 5 times less than what we do today to extract energy to run the world, which that's pretty substantial. I mean, that's huge. And it just talks about the transition even away from more into copper for making things like the batteries and other technology advancing over the next 20 years. So it's a really good article, but at the same time, you think to yourself, for us individuals that are such the ice people where we came from and the ice vehicles we have, you just think to yourself, is this so staged? I mean, is the 10 trillion really? We all have been around too long to see the Metro project that's going to be $500 million turns into the $3 billion project. I mean, who here hasn't built a house, then had construction in your home, and you go in thinking it's going to be this amount of money, it's all said and done, it's triple, quadruple what you thought it'd be. And I think that's where the naysayers among us, more than ever, are on that page. We just don't believe the numbers. We feel like we're being staged by so many people out there that, gather information, gather numbers, gather, critical whatever, and they come to these equations. So how Elon Musk, figured $10 trillion. I mean, how does he come to that number? I mean, how does he come to that number versus it's going to be more money, for the fossil fuel age to continue on? And then where does he get the numbers on the metals being extracted? And the article, which is hard to believe, it makes it sound like the metals are infinite in the makeup of the Earth, and we just really haven't even extracted anything. But the article, Elon Musk basically he's kind of making a statement like the metals are abundant in this mother world that we live in, and that won't be a long-term challenge for sustainability of the net zero, emissions. Yeah, right. I mean, and I think there's just so much information out there. It's overwhelming for the average person. I think the average person's like, who gives two craps? I'm going to go smoke a cigarette, have my Dunkin' Donuts and coffee, and get in my frickin', truck and drive down the road, and I don't give two craps. Are we going hunting today? Are we going fishing today? I get it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're being staged. That's the whole point. That more than ever in our lifetime, it's the never-ending content of us being shoveled information to make you believe that what's being told is going to be the way it is. But yet, anybody who's been around long enough has witnessed over and over again the rhetoric in the end doesn't usually play out to be what it was. I mean, you get into politics. Yeah, are they on stage all the damn time? And what do they present? Everything that actually is done oppositely of what they said they're going to do. I mean, if you don't believe that, wow. Yeah, it's kind of changed subject. Look at Dan Snyder. Here's a guy that staged himself into the $6 billion man. Yeah, $6 billion. Dan Snyder. Here's a guy. Well, you realize it or not, I used to live next to Bobby Bethard. I've talked about this before. When I moved here with my father in 1980, we didn't live in the rich ass neighborhood. We lived in a regular old neighborhood for the most part, but just coincidentally, the neighborhood we lived in eventually turned into the $1 million neighborhood. But our house is just a regular traditional colonial little dinky house that my father found unfinished from a former employee of the company he worked for, and he got a deal in the house, and we finished it, and we moved into it, never knowing that Bobby Bethard, the general manager of the Redskins, who took them to the Super Bowls, would be our across the street neighbor, never knowing that I would drive Bobby Bethard's sons to high school every now and then when they'd miss the bus, and never knowing that today that sadly those two boys didn't really hang out with them, but knew of them, that I would hear that the father, my age, lost their son to a stabbing in San Francisco in a bar when the San Francisco 49ers were in a major playoff contention, and his grandson was a backup quarterback for San Francisco 49ers. And so, wow. Yeah, right. Yeah, pretty bad, right? Yeah, yikes. So, anyways, the the stage here with Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder, and I used to hang out with the Redskin people in so many ways because when I was bar hopping, I would run into Gary Clark and Art Monk and Jeff Bostic and Joe Theismann, not so much, but he lived right on the street. John Riggins. I sold parts to John Riggins when I worked in the auto parts industry here in Fairfax, Virginia. Yeah, I mean, John Riggins came to the counter and he bought weather stripping for one of his vehicles. That's how I remember. I remember that very well. And then Russ Grimm used to sit next door at the Italian restaurant. But here's the whole point. John can't cook. I never knew this. I was blown away. I used to coach youth girls basketball. And you get there early, get the team in order for the game. And this was a Sunday game. And I was hanging out, and the refs come in, and we start kind of talking among ourselves. And we got to talk about the Redskins. So I never knew this. So Jack Kent Cooke had a son, John Kent Cooke. And John Kent Cooke was the interim owner, manager of the Redskins after Jack Kent Cooke's death back in like 95 or 6 or something like that. The date could be wrong, but Jack Kent Cooke. So anyways, when the will said that the Redskins team had to be sold to highest bidder. And John Kent Cooke raised like $580 million. Well, this guy, Dan Snyder, which nobody even knows who the hell this guy is, came out of nowhere, and he got it for like $800 million. But Dan Snyder is Jewish, and so he had the Jewish community, which is very strong in this area with real estate. So he had Zuckerman Kronstadt. He had some other big-time realty people give him money, help him buy that team, with the conditions that he'll have to pay him back. And Dan Snyder is part owner in the business. And then he had minority owners like NV Homes that was part of he has like 3 to 5 minority owners. So for Dan Snyder, he staged himself to get that team like it was all about Dan Snyder, which for the most part, I don't think most people understood that it wasn't all about Dan Snyder. He had Jewish friends that really helped buy that team big time. It wasn't just Dan Snyder. So anyways, for Dan, for me, I just was so aggravated when Dan Snyder got that team. And I thought to myself, why did Jack Kent Cooke diss his son, John Kent Cooke? Why did Jack Kent Cooke not let his son inherit that team? Well, here's the story. And I never knew this until like 4 years ago. The ref actually works for NV Homes. And so we were talking about how John Kent Cooke never got the team. And he's like, yeah, because Jack Kent Cooke had private partners. And they had to be bought out. I was like, wow. So I always thought that Jack Kent Cooke was the only owner of the Washington Redskins. No, he wasn't. He had minority partners. So the will had to cater to all parties involved for the death of Jack Kent Cooke, and John Kent Cooke had to be able to raise enough money to outbuy everybody else out, and he couldn't. And that's why Dan Snyder got the team. Well, here's what's going on. If you're not a Washington Redskin, now Washington Commanders follower, Dan Snyder has been, dug up. They have dug up so much dirt in this guy. The House and Ways Committee, JoJo Smith or somebody is investigating him. I even heard these stories before they even populated years ago, how terrible Dan Snyder was. And sure enough, they've dug up a lot of bad, employment relations of just devious things, and the list goes on and on and on. Well, Dan, for the most part, is being forced to hand to sell the team, even though there's criteria in the owners, the NFL league can easily just take him out. They can just vote him out and don't have him be a franchisee anymore of the organization. They haven't done that yet. But here's the whole point. Right now, the speculation is somebody's going to pay him $6 billion. Dan Snyder, it's like an 800% return on investment of $800 million to get $6 billion. And the guy's the biggest jerk in the world. Well, isn't it something? Isn't it something how the biggest jerks in the world seem to have all the frickin' money? What's it about? I mean, it's just the money and the common sense. Oh my goodness gracious! It's who doesn't work for somebody or know somebody that who doesn't just know these people? It's just how does the money populate to these people? What do they do? Yeah, you just have to say they do devious things. To be a big player, you're not a nice person. You're not clean. There's these guys. It's ridiculous. What we're witnessing right now, the crime language. Are you kidding me? Every one of these people that's involved in this, every one of them is crooked as all get out. I'm talking about the people trying to prosecute a person. Yeah, all of them are dirty. There's no way you get to a level of stature and powers in this world of being Mr. Nice Guy and playing by all the rules. It doesn't happen. And so it's malarkey. Yeah, so we're all being staged. More than ever. Now we're being staged for the next, the next, what are we going to hear for the next year and a half, right? The stage, right? So, and now here's the manufacturing PMI index. Country is at 2009 levels of manufacturing. Did you know that? Yeah, that's a fact. We're at 46.1% manufacturing capacity. Anything under 50%, you're actually in a recession. You're decline. Is the staged media talking about this much at all? Yes, this is a fact. Right now, all manufacturing throughout this country is down. They're all down. Everything's down. But it takes time. So for me, I predicted 2022, first quarter would be the signs of the economy starting to change. Second quarter would be the eyes are wide open. Third quarter would be like, oh, it's over. And the fourth quarter would be, it's done. That was my prediction for 2022. So here we are, first quarter of 2023, and all the indexes are showing that, yeah, the country is going backwards. It's being built back backwards instead of built back better. But we all know it's being built back worse. Come on. Really? Is anybody? So, but here's the thing. It takes time. People don't have their car repossessed in 60, 90 days. That's 120 plus days. People's houses don't go to foreclosure anymore in 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It can be years. It's a whole different ball game. People don't go bankrupt anymore in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. They could buy, in today's world of the economics, the agendas, somebody could play the game for a long time. And even though the pandemic, related things that tried to help people supposedly are kind of come to an end, but look at all the landlords. Look at all these landlords that have been chasing people for money. They can't enforce it because of the hardships of the pandemic. And now landlords have got a double whammy. Because a lot of these landlords have big buildings and offices. They don't have anybody there to go there to to work in these buildings because everybody's gone to remote working. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. So what are we being staged for though? I mean, sincerely, what are we really being staged for? Are we being staged for incredible catastrophic failure? Are we being staged for really the resistance of so many that don't believe it, but in the end it'll be so much better? I mean, sincerely. Are we just resistant to change? That's how we are as mankind. Is that really what's kind of going on? And so many of us just feel like the stage that we're seeing, we don't like it and we don't want to participate. But in the end, it was actually the better stage to go to. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching my channel. Appreciate the comments, the views, the landscaping project with the kid's text message you right now is a happening. Busy day here. Projects. The Ford F-150 light or Ford F-150 race truck. That thing's pretty cool. I should have walked around that truck this morning, showing the rear spoiler on the cab. It looks really good. Once you kind of get far away from it, it does give it a lot of good character. And I did find the instructions. When I pulled my truck out of where I was working on it, the instructions were underneath of it. Yeah, well, it's on. Looks good to me. Do I read instructions? Do you watch my YouTube channel? All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, stay safe, and God bless.